Hello everyone, Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly and welcome to this video in which we're going to be offering some advice on how to play par 5s. Now we're here at Frilford Heath Golf Club. This is the home club of Eddie Pepperell and we've recruited Eddie to help us with this video to offer some really useful tips on building sensible game plans and strategies on holes where you can make a great score if you play them well. Eddie's also going to talk us through about his switch to using the claw grip in his putting at the start of 2020. It's really fascinating and something you're definitely going to want to watch. It's right at the end of this video, so keep an eye out for that. But let's head out now onto the golf course here at Frilford Heath to find out about how Eddie Pepperell thinks about his game and how he scores well on par 5s. Right, Eddie, so third hole, par 5, talk us through the challenge of this hole.
Yes, this is a short par 5, so it's all about getting your drive away. It doglegs up to the right, so you know the further up you are, the easier the second shot. But I've always liked the visual for me up this hole because I can tee it down quite low and hit what I like to hit was a lowish fade off the left side, and just kind of suits me nicely, this tee shot visually. So
what does teeing it down do in it to help you hit that shot then?
Yeah, so for me, you know, you can see that's a very low tee there.
It is a low tee, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, what I feel I can do is really move on to a low tee and cover it so then I can hit this cover draw. I have a tendency sometimes when I tee the ball up to back up and then I can start spraying it, and I hate that. So that's why I tend to tee the ball quite low generally anyway. But when I really want to hit a low cut, if that's the way to put it, you know, whether it's into the wind or a tough tee shot or a hole like this, then I'll tee it down even lower and just try and move on to the ball a bit more, yeah.
What if the hole was, I don't know how far a hole needs to be just in range, let's say 600 yards.
Yeah.
What do you do off the tee if you feel like if I get a really long one away here, I might just be able to get up into? Is there anything you would do differently in that scenario? No.
Yeah, I rarely try and gain extra yards off the tee with my driver because honestly, it just has historically brought in some really bad shots and I'm never that fussed. If I happen to hit a great tee shot, teeing it like this, and it goes a long way, and I can possibly get there, then I'll deal with that problem down the fairway. But I'm rarely trying to gain the advantage off the tee. You know, the day Eddie Pepperell starts gaining advantages off the tee, then we know the game's gone.
So talk us through where for this shot, where are you looking to start it? Where are you looking to kind of, what's the shape looking like and how are you
Yeah, so I'm just seeing, there's an actual spiky tree up there in the distance on the left side of the rough, which if I started on that line would be pretty good for me, because then I could probably move it 10 yards left to right in the air and just let it, you know, do its thing really. I mean, I do know looking at this tee shot that there's a rough up the left, so if I hold on to this too much and keep it left, it's actually going to be in a worse spot than if I was to overfade it. So this is quite a good tee shot because if you overfade it, you can't go for the green, but if you pull it, you're in the rough. So it does require a good tee shot up here. But, you know, that's where I would pull out a shot that I'm most comfortable with and confident with in terms of hitting the right shot, yeah.
Okay,
so,
let's give it a go.
Yeah, so I'll grip down it a little bit as well. You can see probably half an inch there.
Okay.
You can see, I've pushed it. Well, it's actually hit the tree and come out.
It's in the middle of the fairway.
That's, yeah, I got lucky there, obviously. So.
But that's the side to miss rather than the other side, and by playing the shot that you played, you were taking the left-hand side of the hole out, is that
probably, that's a good way of putting it, yeah. I mean, it wasn't a great swing, but that was a better miss than the one up the left, for sure.
Okay, let's go and hit the next one. Right, Eddie, so second shot into the third, a little bit of tree trouble, but having said that, you've had a good bounce.
Yeah, we're on the fairway. We've got about 225 yards, I think. But as you can see, it's uphill round to the right, so it requires a shot that you may take on in a tournament. Possibly wouldn't, but, you know.
What's up there? What do we need to know about?
Well, there isn't a whole lot up there. It's just if I was to hit I'm going to try and hit a high 3-iron, fading it. But if I hit it straight, it would probably end up in the rubbish. So, you know, I have to make sure I fade it. Right. And then there's this big tree here, so if I don't strike it and push it, I'm going to hit the tree. And, yeah, it's hard. I wouldn't say it's fraught with danger, but it's influenced.
So in tournament mode, let's say you've got 5 holes to play and you're with a chance of winning, you're not taking on a shot like this, or are you?
Well, you might do, because if that's the case, you're probably playing quite well and likely to be confident, so you may take it on. You're more likely to pull it off if you do take it on than if you're missing the cut. But I don't know what Mick would say. You know, he would maybe not He'd maybe say, let's just lay it up and chip on.
And so how does that conversation go? Do you say, okay, whatever you say, I'll do that?
Well, that's where I usually get the gaffer tape out of the bag and just put it around his mouth and tuck him away in the bag somewhere. But no, he would be quite strong. He would be very strong in telling me what he thinks we should do. But, you know, he knows it's up to me. So, yeah, if I could persuade him, if I really felt comfortable. I mean, this is a shot I do feel comfortable hitting because I don't find hitting the ball left to right difficult. If I had to hit a high hook here, then he would probably know, okay, this is now a bit of a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, okay. So how are you hitting that? How are you changing things to hit that high fade?
Yeah, so the face will be certainly laid more open, both in terms of to the right, but also back. So I've got more loft on it a little bit. And then I'll just open my feet up and take probably a fairly wide stance here to make sure I get the lift. And really
how does that help then, the wider stance?
Well, if I was to take a narrower stance, it'd be tough to get the speed required to get it high. So I'm going to make sure I'm standing wide enough so that I can generate the speed. Okay. And then a lot of this is more of a shot that I suppose is, I would always describe this as just more of a talent shot, you know? You know what you've got to do, you don't really know how you're doing it, you're just going to do it.
Yeah.
Tiger would be great at these shots, you know, Seve kind of thing. So, and it can tell you a little bit where you're out. It can also tell you how much talent you've got, but it can tell you a little where you're at with your swing as well. So,
and can I just ask you then, going back to what you were talking about before, about feeling good, swinging well at the end of a tournament, would you always know where you are on the leaderboard? Are you always kind of...
Yeah, I'm usually pretty aware. You know, I'll look at them. I don't mind.
And that informs your strategy, does it, towards the end of a tournament?
Possibly, yeah, possibly. I mean, I can't think of any examples I've had in the past where it has done, but it would maybe, if this was a really risky shot, maybe not take it on, but yeah.
All right, let's give it a go.
Okay.
I can't see the green, so I've got no way of saying whether this is any good or not, so...
It's just a little up around. I need to go over the kind of edge of that, right edge of that bunker eventually. Over the middle of it would be good.
There it is. Nice fade. Over the trap? Yes.
Yeah. So
is that on the green?
That we just left to the green, so that would be fine.
Pretty good result.
That would be a decent result. You'd take that.
Yeah. Good. Well played. Right. So Eddie, this is where your ball's come to finish. And actually, I've asked you to move your ball from the lie that it was on, which is pretty good, into a slightly bare lie. Yeah. The sort of lie that many people watching this, myself included, would strike the sort of fear of God into. Yeah. How do you play it? Because you must face these sorts of shots all the time out on tour.
Yeah. So it would probably be more tight lie into grain where we would, the kind of lies we would get as opposed to bare, but you'd play it roughly the same, right? To be honest, I would. A good way of making sure you strike it, because that's the main thing that I think people are going to struggle with, is really to set the ball up more on the toe. Right. And even set the shaft up in a bit in terms of its plane. So, you know, rather than setting up normally like this, you would stand a little closer, more on the toe, and have the shaft more upright. And you could even hood the toe in a little bit. So imagine that you're playing a little draw shot. Now I know that's a bit technical, but when you set the ball and use the toe, you don't get the heel digging in, so you're less likely to fat it, basically. Right, okay. So most people obviously are going to fat it because they get scared, or thin it, but often fat it.
Yes, usually fat it.
Yeah, so...
hit it about a foot.
A good way to combat that really is to just set more up on the toe there, get the shaft much more upright, ball at the back of the stance, and just play a little draw shot. Obviously, I've not quite carried it far enough there, but the good thing that is it ensures you get the strike more. So the more you were to practice that and strike it better, then obviously you can start to feel the shot again.
Are you looking to strike it out of the toe then? You are looking to hit it out of the toe?
Yeah, you would.
So I mean, you can be a bit more aggressive with the shot because it's not coming out as hard.
Exactly, you could. So that's a typical example there. You can see that's not flown very far. So, you know, quite often I know when I get into a golf course scenario that works in terms of getting the strike, but I'm playing with a bit less feel. So often, you know, you won't hit it stiff, but you'll make sure you're inside 6 feet. Whereas if that was a nice lie, you'd be looking to definitely get that stiff. So the more practice you put in with that, obviously you'd build the feel. But you know, quite often you just want to guarantee you strike the shot, and a good way to do that is to set it more on the toe, more upright, put the ball back, and just hit you know, because the toe doesn't dig, it just bounces. Once the heel, get the heel digging, then you're in trouble.
Okay, so Eddie, one thing you mentioned a little bit when we were talking about putting on the par 4 was about going to the claw grip. Can you talk us through that decision, why you did it, when you did it, and kind of how you think it's helped you?
Yeah, so I played with Lee Westwood in Abu Dhabi in the first 2 rounds, and that, you know, he won that week obviously, and he putted really well all week. And listen, no disrespect to Lee, because he's obviously a brilliant golfer, but you know, in the past when I've watched him putt, it hasn't always looked that comfortable.
Right.
I think it's fair to say, honestly. And I was stunned at how comfortable he looked and how good he putted, and I figured he was just, to me, another example, along with Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, guys, even Sergio Garcia, who have gone to a claw grip and actually improved their putting. And I've always associated that with having real troubles, which I've never had real troubles on the green, but I've never been willing to experiment. I haven't been very open-minded. So I figured in my weekend off in Abu Dhabi, I would just give it a try in my hotel room.
Right.
Started messing around and went to Dubai the week after and actually putted surprisingly well.
Yeah.
And I think it just does a couple of very key things technically for me, which is why I think it's so good for me. So, and you'll see it best down the line on the camera, because in what you tend to find with great putters is their shaft matches their left forearm.
Yes.
In terms of the line. So, you know, there's not a whole lot of angle, and it's not very rarely that way. So Steve Stricker would be exceptionally upright.
Yes.
With a traditional grip, I've always had a real hard time to get that to happen. And so I would often get the shaft too low, and then it creates too much rotation.
What, a rotation wrist hinge, or?
In terms of just the face,
face.
but then it would be very difficult to feel like it's a passive club face.
Right.
The other thing is that I never very much liked the way my right elbow sat. It always looked quite uncomfortable and bent, and I often think good putters have a relaxed right arm. So they have quite a long right arm, good putters, I find. But I couldn't find a way to grip it conventionally with a long right arm unless the putter was like 30 inches.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, so when I went to a claw grip, not only could I set this more upright, but I could do that with my right arm, which actually got it to hang completely straight. And then I found it much easier to work it on the inside arc. So my issue with putting was always I'd take it a bit on the outside with this right elbow kind of condition, and I would really struggle at times with my putting. So as I found, just honestly over time, it's pretty simple. So
would you say then, Eddie, that for you, this, regardless of, I guess a lot of people switch into that way of putting if they've had the yips, if they've, as you said, if they've really struggled with their putting, but actually technically it's a stronger way of doing it anyway.
Definitely for me,
right.
Definitely for me. It's put in those 2 conditions that I'm talking about, this matching this more upright with my right arm hanging. And then the rest of it, in terms of the way the hand sits, that's again just a feel which you can get used to over time, which I have now. But the fact that this is built in and this is built in, I believe will give me more consistency down the road, because I think they're 2 very principal parts of putting.
Right.
So guys who do those 2 things tend to be good putters. So I think technically it's helped me, I must say. And from what I've seen when I've been putting at home, and I've putted really quite well, to be honest, since moving to it. So I don't envisage changing it. No. To be honest.
Oh, very good. Okay, well, let's give this one a go for us then. There it is. Oh, absolutely robbed by the flag in there, Eddie. But I think I'll give you that.
Pandemic, thank you.
Okay, so there you have it. That was our video on how to play par 5. Some really interesting insights there from Eddie into how he hits the sort of shapes that he's looking to hit while he's out on the golf course. Also how to hit those bare lie shots. I know that for many people watching this, those chip shots that you have to hit off muddy or bare lies are really difficult, so a great solution for anyone in that situation. Guys, before you go, please do leave a comment below. What did you think of what Eddie did on that hole? What did you think about the way in which he devised his strategy? We would be very interested to hear your thoughts. But for now, from Frilford Heath, it's goodbye.